90% of the goods that we use every day are shipped, right? And that represents 3% of the all carbon emissions worldwide, which is the same as the aviation.
Yeah, that's right, 2 to 3%.
Everybody is talking about the aviation, but the shipping is also very big. So anyway, so we hope we can use this technology and upgrade and upscale this technology towards this shipping industry.
Oh boy, folks, we have two record-breaking technologies that we're going to compare in this film. They're both sustainable new technologies. They're both things that are going to prove that the way we move in the future is going to be way more fun than the stinky, horrible carbon technologies that we've been using over the last 100 years. Full respect to carbon, it was a real big breakthrough 200 years ago, but it's about time that we had the next breakthrough. ModX and Eenius are going to teach us all about that, and please do watch till the end of the film to firstly find out who are the companies and organizations behind all of this, and also to find about ModX, who is a new friend of ours, and how they've created a completely new way of propelling boats across the water. They've taken the sail out of the sailing boat and replaced it with something that in a lot of ways is way better. If we look at Eenius on the other side, that's an old friend of ours. For those of you who've subscribed to this channel for a while, you know that one of our earliest films was a feature film about Eenius, and it's a really fantastic initiative from the University of Stuttgart. More information at the end of the film about how it was created, but it's a modular aeroplane that was developed in order to be able to test different technologies, screw a bit off, screw something else on, change the way that it actually propels itself, and it's a really interesting technology. And in this film, we're going to be finding out about how Eenius was being used to actually pull gliders into the air. Isn't that fantastic? What you're looking at there is an electric vehicle, an electric airplane, Eenius, that has just pulled a glider into the sky. It's towed a glider up. We've seen this many times before with carbon technology. There's nothing new about that, but we're using an electric vehicle to get gliders into the sky. Gliders are obviously carbon very neutral, or at least when they're flying they are. And Eenius also is locally carbon neutral.
ModX 70 is the very first 100% electric yacht. Okay, so that means we have no fuel on board. Zero fuel, you know. So we have a fully electric boat.
It's no carbon propulsion at all.
So when you use it, it's zero CO2 emissions.
Wow.
Completely.
Now, you can't talk about sustainable modes of transport and get around the subject of batteries. It pops up all the time. And both of these vehicles, both of these vessels have actually got an electric propulsion unit. So in the sense of ModX, well, actually they prefer to be moving under wind power with that new revolutionary way of doing that. But they also have two electric motors, just the same as most catamarans. They have two motors, which is a great thing for security, and also a great thing for maneuverability. And they need those electric motors, for instance, if you go into a harbour and you want to dock. It's a lot easier with an electric motor propulsion than it is using a sail to do that. At the same time, of course, it's not always windy, so you do need some kind of electric propulsion. But unlike most of the other sustainable boats that we've recorded at 3 different boat shows, look out for that film. We've got a whole film that summarizes 3 boat shows in 3 weeks. But unlike most of the other technologies, what ModX has done is it said we don't want any carbon technology or any carbon propulsion on our boat at all. So there isn't a diesel generator that's going to create electricity. They generate their own electricity, and their whole philosophy is about being self-sufficient on the water. Now, both companies have also thought about regenerative energy. Regenerative is a difficult word to say, but it's a simple principle. And it's all about actually getting energy back. And so just the same as most electric vehicles these days, that when you brake, you're actually creating energy and recharging your batteries, well, Eenius and ModX have both taken an approach to that.
We have 250 kilowatt hour of batteries. That represents, if you like, maybe 2.5 very big electric cars. Yeah. So it's significant. Yeah. It means almost 2 tons of battery on the boat. Yeah. 1.8 tons actually. But the batteries are good, so you can charge when you're in the marina. But the thing is, what we want to try to achieve is for the boat to be self-sufficient. Yeah. So if you like, it's like an electric car that can charge itself itself
Yeah.
as it goes.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So how do we do this? We have 70 square meters of solar panel everywhere.
Okay.
That would provide, that would charge your battery on a good day, on any day actually. You get a little bit of charge anyway.
How many kilowatts do you get out of that? Do you know?
The spec is about 12 kilowatt peak.
That's quite a lot. That's
the spec.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
depending on weather, depending on shadows and all that.
Yeah.
More,
Okay.
more or less, that's the target
The optimum,
point,
yeah.
the optimum. And on top of that, the other way to charge the batteries
Yeah.
is when you are sailing with the wind. So using the wind, which is free and available for everyone and green by definition, to recharge the battery. And to do this, you need to get the boat moving at say more than 8 knots of boat speed. Because when we reach this point, we use the variable pitch drive of the propeller.
Yeah.
So the propeller that helps pushing the boat forwards, you can reverse the propeller, then they start spinning with the speed of the boat, and that your electric engine become generator.
So when you
they recharge the battery. So that's called hydro generation.
like a dynamo on a bike, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the whole dynamo on the back. So like you said, technology is there.
Yeah.
It's just a different way to use it to achieve your goal.
Now, of course, not every battery is the same as the other one. Batteries are developed to hit a certain use case. And what Eenius has done is, together with a partner company, they've developed a kind of battery that gives you a lot of power very quickly. Because Eenius is all about kind of 10 minutes flights. It's about getting gliders into the air, at least with the test that Eenius is doing at the moment. And so what they need is a lot of power very quickly to not only get Eenius off the ground, but also the glider that it's towing. They're not looking for a long range, as ModX would like to have. What they're looking for is being able to get up, get the glider in the air, come back down again. So there's a bank of batteries in here at the moment that are special powerful batteries that can give you a lot of power at once. Because you may know that when you fly, pretty much the hardest thing to do is get the bird in the air. So having high power electric means that you'll be able to use an electric aircraft like this one to pull gliders into the air. Another great step forward towards green aviation. Let's go through the maths there, because I mean a plane like this, it's going to be pulling up gliders into the air, towing gliders. It's not going to be flying the whole time, right?
No, typical flight times are 10 to 15 minutes, and you burn roughly approximately 10 liters during that period. For a typical standard altitude is 600, 800 meters, something like that. And we used 5 to 6 kilowatt hours with a single seater for the same altitude.
And I think you told me as well, the other thing is when you come back down again, you're creating energy on the way down. Is that correct?
That's another neat feature of electric propulsion for aerotowing. That's correct. Because a conventional tow plane even uses fuel on the way down to limit the cool rate of the engine, so you still have a little gas in there to stop to avoid cracking in the engine. And we can even harvest some energy on the way down. Yeah, so we can use the propeller as a windmill basically, and have some current that charges,
generates some electricity then.
So in that for 5 kilowatt hours that you need on the way up, you get back 0.3 to 0.5 on the way down. So it's a little percentage, but it's better than wasting.
Now, as if that wasn't enough, another really cool thing that Eenius and ModX have in common is they both have autopilot systems. Once again, this is something that's pretty new. We'll talk a little bit about innovation later on, and in my company, Progress Factors, we teach other companies how to be more innovative. What we always say is innovation isn't about completely new things. It's about taking something that's existing, an existing solution, and using it to solve a new problem. Or taking a new solution and using it to solve an existing problem. But it's not new, it's about this combination. And so what I would say as a big ask is please do put your comments in here if you see any use cases that these technologies can be used for, or if you have any questions. I promise that we will get Jean and Stefan and their colleagues to answer those questions if you put them in the comments box. Now, coming back to the autopilot system, autopilot is of course nothing new, but they're used for new purposes here. And both Eenius and ModX profit from the autopilot because it makes it more comfortable, it makes it easier to actually fly or sail this boat, but it also makes it more efficient, more sustainable, and also safer. So you're pre-programming the path that the glider is going to take off with then. So it's not looking at the different aircrafts around it like you would with a car with autonomous driving. It's actually about saying this is the path and now follow the program that we've set. Oh,
yeah, you pre-plan a trajectory which is efficient and doesn't has a low noise impact on the people around the airport. But as soon as you have a dynamic target coming in, so for example another like air traffic, it will adjust the trajectory to avoid that.
So it'll automatically, like if a plane has to do an emergency landing, it'll automatically move around it then, oh?
Basically, yeah. But every sort of traffic that's coming in, it will dynamically adjust to that. Yeah.
If we look at ModX, well, they've basically taken the sailor and the sail out of sailing boats. They've created a technology which is basically push-button sailing. Now, I own a sailing boat and I would never advise anyone to go on the ocean without any kind of sailing experience. But if you can imagine a boat like ModX, it's been developed for people to actually live on. It's a very fancy boat. It's 70 foot long. And the ability to not have to sail all the time, I think would be very attractive for many live on board sailors. Basically, if you want to sail this boat, you just need to know how to move the steering wheel. That's all you...
Why would you do this?
Oh, okay, you do
You have an autopilot. So the autopilot is there to drive the boat,
okay,
but also to drive the sails.
Okay.
So basically, there is, unlike any other sailing boat,
yeah,
there is no ropes, there is no winches, there is no halyards. There is just buttons that you have to push and throttles that you have to move.
Okay, and I promised you at the start of the film we would talk about the revolutionary technology which ModX has developed. Now what they've done is they've actually taken the sail off the boat, and normally if you're a sailor then you'll know that basically if we imagine that this is a sail, well, it's about getting that sail to be the right shape, right? So if you take this and you want to get it to be the right shape, well, what you have is lots of different ropes, and sailors love fancy names for things. We talk about halyards and we talk about sheets, but basically they're all just ropes, they're all just strings, right? But you have to set all these ropes in certain angles and certain positions so that you can actually get the wind to blow the sail into a certain angle or into a certain form. Now, of course, if you imagine taking this sail and you just twist it up, well, this is the kind of form you're looking for on a sailing boat a lot of the time. And if you look, it's very similar to the wing on a boat. So if you imagine taking that sail and closing off the bottom part of it so that it's no longer just a curved structure, but it's actually a filled out structure, well, that's kind of what ModX have done. They've put 2 aircraft wings on top of the boat.
The key element of innovation is those wings. So we're not having sails like a normal sailboat. We're using wings like the airplane wings, because this profile of a wing is much more efficient than sails. A flat sail will deliver some power, if you like. A wing of the same surface area will deliver between 1.7 to 2 times more.
Wow.
So we have a telescopic mast which is made of different carbon tubes, if you like, that can be retracted, fully retracted or fully deployed at 16 meters or 23 meters. And on top of this mast we have developed a special fabric which is inflatable and that will create the shape of the wing.
Being able to move your sail up and down, it's kind of like a sinkable mast. Well, it means that the boat can get under bridges. I live here at the start of the River Rhine on Lake Constance, and there are certain parts of the lake I can't sail on because I just can't put my mast down on my boat every second day. It's a big job to put that mast down. We do it once at the beginning of the year, once at the end of the year, right? So, but being able to telescopically sink that mast has a lot of benefits if you want to get under a bridge. But just imagine scaling this technology up and putting it on a freight ship, so something, a cargo ship that needs to go underneath a crane. You can imagine this is going to be a big benefit if you can get the sails out of the way when you move into a harbour and need to get that cargo off the ship. So if we think about this whole idea, I've heard that this would be a technology you can also use on container boats, and there's benefits for that as well, right?
Of course. I mean, there's a big trend at the moment on how to use the wind as a new, it's not a new, because if you look at trade winds, it's been like this for
a couple of hundred years ago. Exactly. We weren't using any carbon fuels.
We want to go back to using the wind as a way to move goods around. And as you know, 90% of the goods that we use every day are shipped, right? And that represents 3% of the all carbon emissions worldwide, which is the same as the aviation.
Yeah, that's right, 2 to 3%.
Everybody is talking about the aviation, but the shipping is also very big. So anyway, so we hope we can use this technology and upgrade and upscale this technology towards this shipping industry. And the target is to, we've done some preliminary calculation and stuff. And the target is to try to achieve, between 20 to 30% reduction of the fuel consumption and therefore the CO2 emissions for big ships or medium-sized ship. But then you have also another trend where people start to think we can do 90% because we can, bring it to the level where the wind is the primary source of power, and that's coming.
Yeah.
So we have achieved electric glider towing, which is a novelty by itself. It's very energy efficient, so we use 10 or 5 to 10% of the energy that a regular tow plane uses. We have proven that we can do that with automation, so with an autopilot. So the tow pilot in a further development stage has a workload relief, so he can focus on other things that would increase flight safety. And also because of the electric propulsion system, we have a decreased noise impact on the people around the airport.
And what weight did you manage to get up in the air? How much have you towed so far?
So this glider was roughly 400 kilograms. So it was a single-seater, a rather light one, because there were 2 people also in the cockpit, so we wanted to keep it down. But we have managed to tow a 750 kilogram glider, which is,
I think that's the most that's ever been towed electrically.
That's correct, that's the heaviest takeoff weight for an electrically towed sailplane.
There we have it, folks. The Earth Circle, these films that we're recording, why are we doing it? We're trying to prove that sustainable technologies, the sustainable future, is going to be way better than the past. There are reasons why we moved to carbon technologies. There's reasons why we started using motor cars instead of riding on horses. And that's because, let's be honest, carbon technology was better than what we had in the past. If you think back 150 to 200 years ago, then carbon technology was a game changer. It was a big breakthrough. But we've unfortunately found out that it's also destroying our planet. So now it's time for the next big breakthrough. And just like the inventions of the first motor cars, we need to go through different iterative stages on the way. And the thing about saving the planet, the thing about innovation, is it's all about collaboration. So the big ask for you guys, as I've already mentioned, is if you have any ideas where these technologies could also be used, then please put your comments in the box below. If you have any questions about this technology, put your questions in the comments box below. And if you just like what these companies are doing and want to say thank you for being pioneers who are game changing the future, creating a better future for us all than the past, and please put a big thank you in there for them as well. I promise that we'll pass on all your comments to ModX, we'll pass on all your comments to the University of Stuttgart so that they know what you want to know more about, and we'll make sure we get some answers for you as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do subscribe, please do like, and please do share this video, because the more people we get involved in the Earth Circle community, the quicker, the easier, and the more fun we'll have saving our planet. Watch to the end and I'll tell you a little bit more about ModX and also the University of Stuttgart project. So at the very end of this film, I'd just like to give some credit to the game changers who are making all this possible. At the University of Stuttgart, the Institute of Aircraft Design developed the fuselage, basically the structure of the Eenius aeroplane, and also the propulsion system. Whereas the Institute of Flight Mechanics and Controls are the geniuses who actually came up with the Eenius autopilot system. So that's 2 different faculties working together. This entire project has been sponsored under the CFLA initiative, which is sponsored by the German Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate Action. So thank you, big up to the government for actually putting the money into this and actually helping us develop a better world. If we look at ModX, well, ModX and Aeroforce are two different companies, but they're working very much in partnership with each other. ModX to develop the actual structure of the boat, the bit that you stood on, and Aeroforce to talk about the aero wings or the aerofoils that are on top of the boat, the replacement of the sail, that technology. So again, we've got two different institutes, or in this case, two different companies working hard to make a better future for us all. Please do give them a thank you in the comments, and please do subscribe, like, and share this video so lots more people see it. Thank you.